Walking the walk, talking the talk. Telling you what a CEO is all about. This is the podcast for she's only. We share our stories of leadership to inspire you. So welcome to the She Sleeps, the podcast for she's only. She's only. Man, woman in leadership. So come on, CEO, you should join the show. She Sweets Podcast with Jodi Hood.
Hello and welcome to She Sweets Podcast with your host, Jodi Hood. This is the place where She Sweet executives share and compare unfiltered realities that our male counterparts will never face. We laugh, we cry, we thrive and survive. Now today I am extremely excited because I got my posse with me. I have all three of my sisters, and we know that this month is the month that we wear pink. And shameless plug, I'm wearing my merch from my niece, that girl, and we wear pink in honor of breast cancer awareness. Yeah. So did you know that every year about 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer in her lifetime? That's nearly 300,000 women each year. We're talking about mothers, daughters, friends, colleagues. And behind each number, there's a story. And I am going to share a story that has never been told, folks. I'm going to share the story of my mother who passed away of breast cancer in 2002. Yes. And my mom was very private, and I can hear her now from heaven saying, "You better not tell my business or I'm going to pop you in the mouth." But no, we won't be telling too much of her business, but we will be sharing her story. And we hope that this will be an inspiration for someone else. So now here's a little bit of my mom's story. My mom, and those of you who knew her, was one of the strongest women that I knew. Resilient, wise, always in control. But when she noticed something wasn't quite right, she kept it a secret. She kept it a secret. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was denial. The quiet voice that says, if you ignore it, it'll go away. And I sometimes attribute that to that particular generation as well, because they were known for keeping secrets and not being real open, especially with their children. So I have my sisters on the line, and I have Jack. I have Dr. Gwen Easterling of Sunshine Rehab. She is the baby sister. I have the middle sister, Jacqueline Currington, who is the CEO of her own company. And then we have the CEO, the sister that's right next to me, of Adopt My Block. So I have a question for my sisters. Because mom was so secretive, I can't even remember when I found out she had, or let me put it this way, when she told me she had breast cancer, I kind of figured it out. And to this day, I think she never uttered those words. So I would like to know for my sisters, when did you realize that mom had breast cancer? And everybody can go on mute until it's your turn to talk. I hear a little fuzziness. So, Dr. Gwen, how about you start? When did you realize that mom had breast cancer?
Well, first of all, during that time, I was kind of going through things myself. So I really didn't notice personally, but I kind of overheard my dad kind of mention it when he was talking to you guys. And I'm like, that slipped past me. Why didn't I figure it out? So that's pretty much how I found out, just kind of overhearing him tell one of you guys that she possibly had cancer at that time.
Yeah, but you didn't hear from
Yeah.
her, did you?
I did not hear it from
I
her.
know that's
No.
right. Jewel, when did you realize that mom was battling this awful disease?
I believe we realized something was going on around 1999, but it wasn't until me and her took a trip to the women's convention where I noticed some changes in her nightly routine,
Hmm.
getting dressed for bed, and how private she was. And I knew then it's something going on. I believe my nephew Mark had said, Nana uses this and uses that. So we kind of knew something wasn't right. So I would say about 1999. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how old was Mark at that time? Do you recall?
Mark probably was about, I want to say 8, maybe.
Or yeah, but yeah, big mouth. He was telling it. Nana's rubbing
Yeah,
cream.
yeah, and I just remember in hindsight, she would go to um, get herbs and different things from herbalist. She would drink the teas and everything. So
Very health
that was
conscious. Very health. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And that's what
So
I remember as well. And I remember that tea smelled awful. And I remember
yeah,
even the girls would be, Nana drinks sticky tea.
yeah,
So
and
exactly.
I just kind
Yeah.
of attributed to her health routine that she usually does. She would go to the health doctors often, so I just kind of attributed to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jackie, when did you realize that something wasn't quite right?
Around that same time that Jewel was saying it did, something wasn't right. Like she was like really going and really drinking it. I thought it was more so like, her stomach had issues or something. But I think when we really knew what it was when they had gone to the doctor. We would try to make an appointment for her and she didn't want to go. And then I think then the second time her and my dad went and he just kind of uttered it and said, "Yeah, that's what it is," and
Yeah.
just gave us a nod.
Yeah. And still, she didn't say it, did she?
No,
She
She
never
would
he
said
never
it.
say
never
it.
said it.
Yeah. So by the time mom finally went to the doctor, the cancer had metastasized. The hardest part was we later learned that although she had one of the most aggressive types of cancer, breast cancer, it was the most treatable. That stings a little bit. Yeah, I remember at the time one of my sisters, well, I'll just tell you Gwen, was dating a doctor at the time. And
Hmm.
my mom asked him one of these questions like, oh, I'm just asking for a friend. I haven't heard of this kind of cancer. And immediately he said, oh, yes, that's the most aggressive, but it's the most treatable.
Yeah, and
And at
I
that
believe it was
time,
the HER2 new positive gene that she had. Cause yeah,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
the most spreadable, but it's the most curable.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right, right. Yeah. But she waited so late. And I don't know, maybe it was fear. Sometimes people think when they ignore problems, they'll just go away. And part of it probably was because of our faith. She was leaning on that for a spiritual healing. I'm not real sure, but I do know that it was very late when it was detected. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of going off script, but I do remember later on, I think someone told us, a doctor said it was probably colon cancer that
Mm-hmm.
metastasized into breast cancer. So that means
Mm-hmm.
for a long time she had something going on, because you can't have something going on with your colon and you don't
And
recognize
you don't know
changes.
exactly.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you know what? The purpose of this podcast is for awareness. And basically, I didn't even say the title of it, but I'll say it now. If you see something, if you feel something, say something and do something. Early detection is key. So, sisters, I have another question for you. As a result of mom's diagnosis, and because that puts us in a high risk category, what actions do you take, or are you in organizations, or do you support any walks? What do you do? Because I personally have a cloud when I get my mammogram every year. I make sure that I get it, but I'm always a little fearful that they're going to find something. And I might as well say this too. My doctor, there's a test, I can't think of it right now, where they can do your DNA or something, and they can
Mm-hmm.
test to see how
Mm-hmm.
likely you are. And I won't get it because I'm not going to live my life knowing that I have this gene and I'm going to be anxious or depressed. So I'll find out when I find out. That's my take on that. But yeah, so what do you girls do um, since you know that you're high risk? Jewel.
Well, I take my annual, but I also do self checks all the time, because when you have cystic breast, people don't realize that you have lumps in there all the time anyway. So what you're looking for is something, a change. and what feels normal to you. So most heavy women have cystic breasts. So you have to check yourself every day or so often, so you'll know that this is something different than what I'm usually feeling. So I try to do that on a regular basis.
Yeah. Currington, what do you do? Unmute.
I'll just go until she gets on. I
Okay,
do
yeah.
my go to my annual checkups, and I too, like Jules said, just kind of check on a regular basis, so you can feel what's normal. Then you can compare it to what's abnormal if you feel something different.
Yeah. Now, Gwen, I want to
So,
tell your business, but you told me one time that you have a little pin or something.
yes, yes. I had a spot on my breast, and they suspected that it was something, and I got tested. And so now they put a chip there to show that if that spot comes up again, that it's already been checked. So, and then that was the first time. The second time, they saw something. They even had said it was like 3 5 millimeters, and
Mm-hmm.
I of course I was scared, upset. So when I went through further testing,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't see it anymore. So
Oh, so I see you kind of got your mom's attributes. This is my first time hearing that. People out there, this is my first time. Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you really don't want to upset anybody or whatever. And until I knew that if it was something, definitely, I would have said something, but
Mm-hmm.
didn't know. So I just wanted to make sure that that I got it checked out before telling my story,
Yeah. Okay,
and everything was
Kirsten.
fine, thank goodness.
Yeah. Okay. My sister finally figured out how to come off mute. What
Yeah,
is it that you do since you know that we're high risk?
yeah, same things. Making sure that I follow my annual mammograms, and now at this age, and my doctor suggests too that I have one mammogram and then one MRI every
Mm,
6 months. So it's like
mm,
6 months mammogram, 6 month a MRI.
Yeah.
So, which
okay.
is different, and I don't like
Hmm.
doing the MRIs and everything, but that's
Sure.
what they have me my regimen because of the history. And then they did suggest that I get the genetic gene testing, and
Hmm.
I scheduled twice and I canceled twice.
Okay. You sound like me. Yeah.
So
And
just like it's, I want to know, but I don't want to know. So I think even now hearing this, I might give it a go.
Okay. And just so you know, folks, this sister is the most daring. And one time she told me, you know what, I think I'm going to go, just take them. Take them
Take them
both
both.
off, and then I'm good. I was
Yeah.
like, that's kind of drastic. Yeah, but anyway, here's our last question because I try to keep my podcast real short, and we can always come back and do another one because breast cancer awareness is all month. But what do you tell your daughters? Because we all have daughters, and as I said, mom came from the generation that you don't tell your kids anything. A kid stays in a kid's place, and I'm not telling you my business. But of course, with our millennials and Gen Zs, they want to know everything. They listen. They even chime in when we're talking, and that's nothing we never would do. Get popped in the mouth. But anyway, I divert. But what do you do? What do you tell your daughters about breast cancer, or do you even share the story about mom? What is it? You know what? I'll go first because she's going to have a fit. So my daughter is much like Jackie was as a teenager, cystic. So she's battling that, and that's pretty scary, but she knows the history and she keeps her doctor's appointments, and I think that's where we are with that. But what do you say to your daughters, girls? Who wants to go first?
Well, I
Jewel.
tell mine because they're getting up in age. I won't tell their age, but I say, you have to. Even though the doctor may say, "Oh, you don't need the mammogram yet," I you should tell them the history so they will give you one because you don't want to. God forbid, you don't want to wait and something's wrong. So I push them to get their annual mammograms as well.
Mm-hmm. uh Gwen.
So yeah, I'm pretty much open with my daughter. Just recently, I told her the story because she didn't know. She didn't know what actually happened, and she was shocked to know that it was that Nana had breast cancer. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, I never told you. I guess I never told you the story." So I told her the story, and she knows the importance of getting the mammograms, and she makes sure that I get mine. And she actually, although she's young, she's actually learning how to give herself self examinations because
Great.
it can happen to women in their 20s. It wasn't just,
Absolutely.
so she's
Yes.
aware of what happened now, and she kind of periodically does her examinations, and she knows the age at which you're supposed to have the official exam. I think I was 39 because my
Mm-hmm.
doctor wanted to do a baseline,
Yeah.
and but the age is 40. But based on
Mm-hmm.
history, I think I got my first one at 39.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
just like you said, Gwen, there's no age limit. And actually, it crosses gender as well. But this is a She Suites podcast for
right.
women in suite. But yeah, men can have breast cancer as well. Jackie, tell us what you do with your little baby girl. Well, actually, you have a daughter, and then you got 3 cupcakes.
3 cupcakes, 3 cakes. But yes, what after hearing this, because actually I we don't share a lot of the history. I didn't share it, and sometimes I would get angry about it. So, but after listening to this, I think I would take a different approach on it now. Um, you know, and thinking too, my mother was older, so I thought that was just an age thing, but she wasn't that old. She's like
She
our
was
age
my
now.
age, the age I
Yeah,
am
and
now.
so
Yeah.
now I think I have, and she was adamant about us making sure that we had examinations, and she always
Exactly.
made sure we were okay, and
Oh,
mammograms
thank
and
you.
everything. So now I think I would take a different approach to let my daughter, know to start looking and checking.
Yeah. Well, guys, this has been a great podcast. I'm going a little bit over my time, but for my she suites out there in the suite, we face things that men will never face, and this is one of the most drastic things that you could hear, that I have breast cancer. So let's do this. We want to get early detection, because what are we saying here? Early, if you are aware early, it's treatable, right? Yeah.
Right.
And you know what? You can't lead if you're not here, if you're not alive. So early detection definitely saves lives, and it just might save yours. So one more time, if you see something, if you feel something, say something and do something. So that brings my podcast to a close. And you know what I'm going to say. Like me on Facebook, connect with me on LinkedIn, or subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm also on Spotify, iHeart, Deezer, Amazon, all of that. You can listen to me 24/7. And that's Jodi Hood, She Suites podcast. And what am I going to say to my women? You know what I'm going to say. Women in the suite, keep walking the walk and talking the talk. Until next time, men in the suite, we are coming at you.
She sweet, we come, they retreat. These women top notch, they vibe is elite. Yeah, they walk in the walk, talk in the talk. They some real boss ladies, they done paid the cost, baby. Now they going off crazy. Yeah, she sweet, coming at you straight from the C-suite. Real talk, we don't need nothing phony. It's for the girls, yeah, for the G's only.